Hello, I'm Katie Cowan, and this is the Creative Bean Podcast, where I bring you fun and honest conversations with creative people to inspire. For episode 41, my guest is Izzy Burton, an award-winning director, illustrator, author, and lead artist at Netflix Animation. Based in Brighton, Izzy directs short films, draws for television and film, and illustrates and writes for books. Her style can be described as full of colour, poetic storytelling, and whimsical ideas. Her gorgeous short film, A Whale's Tale, was BAFTA nominated and won many awards and critical acclaim around the world in 2018, and was followed shortly by Via, a charming tale about life. And if that wasn't enough, Stella and the Seagull is her latest illustrated book, bringing Georgina Stevens' story to life. It'll be her 5th published work in just 18 months. Of course, this wasn't always the path Izzy thought she'd choose. She studied computer visualisation and animation at Bournemouth University, but thought she might become a programmer instead of pursuing a career in art. But storytelling has been something she's always been passionate about. It lies at the heart of everything she does. So she followed her heart after graduation and found herself working at leading animation studios, creating content for the likes of the Cartoon Network, BBC, Nickelodeon, and Cineworld. In this episode, we talk about this interesting journey and how Izzy went from graduation to working at lead studios to freelancing, publishing books, and then joining one of the largest broadcasters in the world, Netflix. It's all in the space of 6 years. We talk about what it's like to direct films, and we discover how Izzy keeps her feet planted firmly on the ground, despite all her success. Season 2 has been made possible thanks to our sponsor Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp with 6 campuses around the world, along with its new online course. We'll be meeting one of Shillington's lecturers later in the show to find out more. But for now, here's my chat with Izzy. Hi Izzy.
Hi.
Hello, this is great. We're here on Monday. We're about to find out whether we're allowed to be let out into the wilds a little bit more. It's feeling a little bit, strange, isn't it? You know, we've just been sort of locked away in winter, but how have you been coping with it all?
Yeah, I guess kind of up and down. I actually had COVID for a while, so back in January. But even last night, it was strangely warm in Brighton, and we were walking along the beach, and people were like dancing and listening to music and stuff in the little pavilion bits, and it felt a bit more like hopeful. So yeah, I'm hoping that soon everything will be a bit more open and warm again, so you can just be outside and enjoy everything. I think it's a bit sad during winter when you're locked inside and it's cold, and
I think we kind of do a bit of hibernating anyway, don't we, this time of year? We're kind of we like to snuggle up. Are you a winter person or are you a summer person?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like I'm probably like an autumn person. I like when I always get excited to wear jumpers again, and then by the end of winter I'm like, just please, I don't want to see another jumper. So I feel like I'm the mid person where I don't like it when it's super hot and I don't like it when it's super cold. So yeah, definitely middle.
A nice sort of kind of Goldilocks thing going on there. Yeah. So I was reminding myself of your work this morning, Izzy. I was watching Stella and A Whale's Tale and Via, and basically crying my eyes out. they're so adorable, and they just spark that emotion, and magical, you know. And you think, how on earth do you go about achieving that?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like I always say the main thing is just, I guess, being authentic and trying to put like some of yourself, all the things you believe in it. I guess all the ideas I've had, especially Via, it was kind of, I guess the core thing I wanted to tell about enjoying life and just the small things and the ups and downs and everything. And then again with the Stella short film, it's about a little old lady who looks a lot like my grandma, and birds, and my family is just bird obsessed. So I feel like there's all these little things that I try and like ingrain real life into, I guess.
That's where the authenticity comes from, and
then you just ramp up all the colours and make it all vibrant and fun, and
make sure there's some violins in there and things like that. it's just
Definitely.
so manipulative. How do you feel to be so manipulative, Izzy?
Oh, well, it's such a weird one because every time you don't know, especially the first film Via I made, you never know how people are going to react to it, and I just thought people were going to think I was like a silly girl making an emotional thing, and I think that didn't help that I came from a studio where they were used to making comedic stuff, so I felt like I was doing something wrong. So when I heard that people were crying from it, I was like, yes, I've done something good. Like it's resonating with people on a good level and not on a silly level. So yeah, it's definitely a bit nerve-wracking when you release stuff like that and you want to have an emotional impact, and especially when I guess you're working on things day to day, you see it so many times that you're just like watching sequences and listening to the music that you almost become desensitized. You don't know what someone viewing it for the first time is gonna think, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, are you an emotional person yourself?
Yeah, I think so. It's a weird one because I think the thing I tell people is that I'm quite passionate. I think I'm very up and down. So like people would say that I'm a very positive person, but then if I get sad, I get very sad. Like, I don't know. I think it's just feeling a lot. I care a lot about things. I think that's what I've come to terms with. So, and it's hand in hand with things like worrying too much and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's more passionate is what I would like to say, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of these people that will there'll be an advert on the television. Not that I've seen one of those for a long time, but there'll be something that comes on and it's only sort of like a 20-second clip and I'll just be an absolute mess. I'll be tears streaming down my face. So I'm your perfect audience because, you know, I'll just be quite happy. I love to be moved by stories.
Mine's always music based. So there'll always be a piece of music. Like there's the Lloyd's TSB adverts with the black horses running through landscapes, and because it's like environments and beautiful music and all kind of whimsical, I love stuff like that. But even last night my boyfriend was watching The Day After Tomorrow and the end score when they're all saved and everything's happy. Like I went to him, this always makes me cry, and then I thought I was saying it in a normal voice, but I realized I was already tearing up by saying this normally makes me cry.
You're really sort of already like, you know, the kind of voice box goes really constrained. You're like, woo!
Yeah.
I know, I cry at everything. And do you have a favourite piece of work that you've done so far? Is that tough?
think it's weird. Like Via is still definitely my favourite just because it was exactly what I wanted to make and I didn't really have any restraints. It was just me playing around, and especially because I think at that point I wasn't even, I don't know, it was so pure almost because I wasn't expecting it to be a big thing or for it to become anything. And now I feel like because I class myself as a director, everything is it's a bit different. Before I was just making something, and I feel like I'm evolving. So the longer it has been since I've made Via, it was like released 3 years ago, I think now, the more I'm like, oh, I still like it, but like I feel like I'm a different person now. So I definitely feel like there's more that I want to say now, but it's still, I like it because it's so pure and it was exactly what I wanted to say at that moment, and I wasn't thinking it was going to be anything really. It was just me making something I liked. Yeah, definitely.
I guess what do they say? You're only as good as your last piece of work, and we're always kind of growing and evolving. Yeah. And you're kind of everything that you do, at the heart of it lies storytelling, and stories come from ourselves. And yeah, of course, as you grow as a person, these stories are going to become richer, more vivid. But like everything that you've made so far, I mean, I think is absolutely beautiful. And there's definitely like Via. I said Via before, apologies, but Via.
Oh no, either is good. Yeah.
So Via almost feels post-apocalyptic. I mean, was that deliberate?
Yeah. So that film as well started from a point where you shouldn't really start a film, which was just indulgent. I wanted to draw epic landscapes with small characters in, and I always think I go to that post-apocalyptic thing, but I think it like subconsciously became part of the story because I wanted the focus to be heavily on the main characters and I didn't want there to be background noise. So the fact that there weren't really any other people around and it was kind of isolating and a bit like, I don't know what the word is, harrowing in a way, like that they're just all alone and they've just got themselves. I think that just became part of it. And I just like that kind of like the ghostly like overpasses with cars like buried in snow. I just love all that stuff, and
Oh,
the kind
gosh,
of the
yeah.
world reclaiming like everything after humans have kind of disappeared. So,
Oh, you're this is like one of my favorite ever genres. I don't know why it's something we love, but it's like, any films, any books, any little short stories. If it's about, after near extinction, I'm in.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't know. I used to be fascinated. I think there was a program that came out of like when I was probably a teenager where they did like a CG interpretation of like what would happen to the world after if humans just suddenly disappeared, and they sped it up like 1,000 years in the future, and then like after 10,000 years concrete finally starts to crumble a bit and things, and I was just fascinated by like rivers coming back through streets and all that stuff. And yeah, I love it. It's kind of like I'm fascinated by the Apple show C, just because it's all that kind of post-apocalyptic landscapes, and it's very epic. I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I suppose it's kind of like a chance to start again, isn't it? Start afresh.
Yeah.
It's a very kind of human desire.
Yeah.
And as a child, did you sort of like imagine that? I suppose when we're kids, we don't really think about a world that's kind of no longer. But did you sort of play very much in your own imagination, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. Like it's one of those things where I always felt like I was outside and writing stories, and there's definitely a lot of pictures of me. I even have them on my website of me just lying in the garden writing stories. I was always writing and illustrating stories, or stealing my mum's video camera and filming little imaginary films and stuff. But I definitely feel like I was always in nature. I was always like saving animals. Like we always used to find like buzzards or like baby rabbits and have to like look after them and stuff. So like everything was about nature, and I feel like I'm much more of a nature and world and animal person than I am a people person. And I always joke about this when I think about the fact that I lean towards drawing more environments than I ever have characters, and the people that I know that are character designers are often people that are really chatty and very good at communicating, whereas I feel like I just love being quiet and in nature and stuff. So that's why I draw environments. And yeah, I kind of worked that out a few years ago. I was like, oh yeah, maybe I don't like drawing people because I don't really like hanging out with people all the time. So yeah.
Quite happy in your own little world. I get that. Yeah, I relate to that. And we share, so we share the fact that we love the idea of the world to blow up. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
You also had a very similar childhood to me. And it shows itself in all of your work. Again, things like building dens and going out and playing in the nature for hours on end.
Yeah.
Possibly sent off by a mother or father with a backpack and some lemonade in there and maybe some sandwiches, and that was it. You'd go and meet your friends and disappear for hours.
Yeah. I feel like my memories of being a kid are like getting a dinghy and going down a river and just like being left. And I don't know how old we were, but we were just allowed to. And even things like I see 13, 14-year-old girls today, and it's so different to what I was even like, and it's not that long ago really, but like on my 13th birthday, I had my brother's best friend and my best friend, who were also brother and sister, came over and we just climbed a tree, and that was like my 13th birthday party. And I feel like that, I don't know if many 13-year-old girls would do that nowadays. I like to hope that they would, but yeah, I feel like it was like this whole thing, I think, when you go from like primary school to secondary school, and then you realize that it's not cool to be like a kid stuff anymore. And I don't know, I felt like I lagged behind a bit, being like, oh, I want to do the kid stuff still.
I know. I relate to that as well. Gosh, we have a lot in common. It was like everybody was growing up around me, and I just wanted to play in trees. And they were into these boy bands, New Kids on the Block at the time and things like that.
All my friends were obsessed with like Justin Bieber and Zac Efron, and I don't think I've ever been obsessed with any band or any person ever. No. And so I used to just like I used to babysit some of the younger kids in my village, and they were all boys, so I would just go and build dens with them all the way up to like 17, 18, because I was just looking after smaller children. That's what they wanted to do, but maybe I was secretly doing it for myself.
Yeah, maybe to avoid that kind of girly kind of world, or if we're allowed to call it that. But I remember I sort of delved into it a couple of times just to fit in, and I went to a concert at the Birmingham NEC to see New Kids on the Block when I was 11. And our parents came along. They sort of all went for a meal or something whilst we were all in there, and we were right at the back, and you could see them on stage, and they were about maybe 2 centimeters tall. That's how far right at the back we were. And there were all these girls just around me screaming with signs like Danny and Joe.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting there going, this is really weird.
Yeah.
Not that, you know, I'm judging those people. That was their kind of thing. But for me, I was like, I figured out pretty quickly, actually, this isn't for me. I'm going to go and build some dens.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same with me. Like I've never had an obsession with like a band or anything like that, really. But then I realized that I've had obsession with nature and things. Like I was that kid that thought everyone knew what all the names of birds were, but they didn't. That was just my mum would teach me. I remember going on school trips and someone being like, look at that cool black bird over there. And I'd be like, that's a rook, or that's a like jackdaw. And even on the weekend I was out with my boyfriend, he said, look at that crow. And I went, no, it's a jackdaw. And I just had like all this weird knowledge in my head of the things that I care about, that always seem a bit kooky to people now. But
no, yeah, I suppose so. But that's such a great skill to have, because one of the things I got for Christmas for my husband was one of those bird encyclopedias, you know, where you can just, because we go camping and we're always sort of sat there outside looking at birds and going, what bird is that? You know, maybe I'll just get your phone number after this and like text you pictures next time I see something I'm not sure about. It's like, Izzy, what's this one? Yeah. Because they're great. I mean, we take them for granted, and it's something that kind of came into the foreground into the foreground last year when we were all locked down initially, and we had all that great weather, and everybody was like, oh, there's birds singing.
Yeah.
And it was magical.
I start making stories about it all, because we have obviously a lot of seagulls in Brighton, and they're so like bullies that the pigeons become like cute and nice. And I've grown up in a place where my dad is so infuriated by pigeons everywhere, but the pigeons in Brighton we love, because they're just like quite sweet and like always bullied by the seagulls. But then there's these seagulls that I've noticed that have black wings, and I like messaged my mum like, oh look, and she's like, yeah, they're the biggest of the seagulls and they're really rare. And you can see quite a lot now, because my boyfriend has a drone and we put it out to the old pier, and you can see quite a lot of them. But they're these just extra big seagulls with black wings. And I just started making up the story like, maybe they scare off the smaller seagulls, so maybe the pigeons, this like black-winged seagull is like this legend that comes every so often and clears off all the seagulls so the pigeons can live in like harmony. And I started like being like, maybe I should write this story. It's like a bit like Redwall and all that stuff, where the animal creatures become like warriors and stuff, and just stupid things.
No, it's not stupid at all. I'm fascinated. That would be an amazing story. Yeah. But you are in Brighton. You mentioned Brighton, and you get that beautiful annual display with the star. Is it the starlings?
Yeah, they're out all the time at the moment. It's ridiculous.
Really, that's unusual.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like almost every night they're there. And even my boyfriend was like, I didn't notice them in the summer. And I was like, maybe they just do this in winter. And I feel like we need to investigate it more, because they, without fail, they're out every evening at the moment.
It's beautiful. Yeah. You can just sit on the beach on those pebbles. Because I lived in Brighton for about 6 months, maybe about 9 years ago. It was just in a little adventure. We just decided to go down and live on the south coast. Cool. And then we got too homesick and got too many clients up north and decided to come back again. No, it's all good. It was a lovely, lovely adventure. It was fun. And I just remember sitting on that beach and looking at the starlings and all the lovely formations in the sky that they made, you know, just with the sort of backdrop of the haunting West Pier, you know, which is, I guess, is still standing. Yeah, pretty much.
Actually, it was kind of even more haunting the other day, because there was such a heavy mist. It was also like around when it snowed a bit as well. And I've got these pictures I was taking of the old pier, and there's like these black blobs in the sky. And then we realised as we got closer, it was the starlings doing the murmuration around the old pier. But because it was so foggy, there'd be like this like black blur in the fog, and then suddenly like these birds would come out of it, and it was just really like ghostly and strange, and very cool.
Yeah, it's a special place to live. I do miss Brighton. I do miss living by the sea. I don't miss the seagulls sometimes, because they can be so noisy, but there you go.
Yeah.
So I also read that your mum says there's a North American feel to your work too, as well as the sort of nature that you have there. What's the story behind that?
When I was 3 to 5, my dad had a job in America, so he went and lived in Connecticut for a while, and I think he worked in Stanford and New York kind of area. And I guess we were just around there for such a long time, and my mum my sister's 9 years older than me and my brother's 2 years younger. So my brother was only 1 at the time and my sister was a teenager. So out of all the children, my mum always says I was the one that she thinks that kind of, I was growing so much in that stage of my life that like I took in things. So, like I still spell mum with an O because I learned to read and write there. Yeah. And like, she said I was the one that came back with a bit of an American accent and stuff because I think I was a bit more impressionable. And I strangely have a lot of memories from that time that are stuff that can't be seen in photographs. They're just like home moments where I'd walk up a staircase and I'd say to my mum, I have this memory of walking past like this stone wall with this colour carpet. And she was like, yeah, that was that house, because we were only there for like 18 months, but we lived in 3 different houses and they were all like in the woods. And I used to come up with all these stories about all the moss in the walls, and we'd have streams through our house. And I used to, like, at the bottom of the garden, and I used to tell my brother that there was like all this moss was just palm trees for ants and stuff. So I have all these like wonderful memories of these like places. And I think just really fondly that my mum didn't work at that point. So she just stayed home with me and my brother. And we just like did loads of creative things and go to the beach every day and stuff. So I think I remember it very fondly, and it was a very happy time. And my mum always says when I draw stuff, especially when I made Via, she was like, it's definitely America. And even the actor that does the voice for Via, he's American, because we spent ages trying to find the right voice. And I was like, it definitely needs to sound old. And we kept getting these posh kind of British men. And then I was like, no, that's not the right vibe. And I realized it was because it's American. And I don't know if it's because I lived there, but there's just everything reverts to that, I guess, quite a lot.
Wow. But you were only there for 2 years. How old were you?
I went when I was 3 and we came back when I was 5. So yeah, it was not very long at all. But
I think we probably take it for granted, don't we? How much happens in such an early part of our lives, how much that influences us as people. And literally a couple of years, and you can see it all over Via. But you mentioned like the voiceover. I was going to ask you, how do you choose people? Because it must be just so difficult, because you do all the sort of, you do all this amazing work, and it must be so many iterations and so many kind of changes. And I can imagine the story starts to be written in your head years before it goes onto the screen, or even on a piece of paper. But how do you find the voiceover? I mean, is it just a sort of feeling? Are you just sort of searching for something you can't quite put your...
Yeah, I think it's a feeling. Like I knew I wanted a voice that sounded old, so it sounded like it was a grandfather telling you his story. And so we asked a lot of agencies to send us like different voices and stuff, and I kept getting them back. And even the people that said they were like 70 years old sounded like young, and I was like, I need someone that sounds old. And like I said, I didn't realize it wasn't going to be a British voice until I heard the British voices, and they didn't sound right. And then finally we got sent Harry, and it was a funny one because all his like, they obviously have reels, and his reel was like a lot of like New York taxi cab, like kind of advert type things. And I was like, so it wasn't in the same vein as like speaking poetry, but I was like, I can hear that his voice is right because it sounds old. And when we met him in London and went to record him, he was just so excited because he was like, I never get to do stuff like this. I normally just do adverts and all this stuff. And it was just so fun for me, being like so young, just to sit in a recording studio and be like, can you say that again, but like make that point of it sound sadder? Like, because obviously he'd read it out and the inflection would be wrong in places, and just stuff like that just made me feel like so professional in a way, because I always feel like, when I was that young, I'd have this panic of like, what does a director do? But then when you're sat there and you hear someone saying your idea slightly off, you can be like, no, can you just say that again? But like go down at that point. And I think that's when you realize that there's no like what a director should do. You just kind of instinctively follow what you want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it was just great fun because we just got to sit there and get him to say like all the stuff over and over in different ways. And then I had to like search through all these different takes and piece together the bits I liked and stuff. So it was good. It was really cool.
I think you're right about that. I think the word director has such a weight to it, doesn't it? Such an expectation, especially if you've been dreaming about doing something like that your whole life. Gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I'd love that myself, being behind one of those big soundproof windows, because I got to do a little bit of that back in my early career because I was a radio journalist. So I got to read the news, and the studio next door would have the presenter, and they would often have like their next guest in. So you'd have people like the Spice Girls sat there behind the screen. Cool. You'd be reading the news going, ooh. Not that I was ever a massive fan, but I do greatly admire anybody who gets to that level of their career, whether you like their music or their work or not, because my goodness, it takes a lot to get there and they must have worked incredibly hard. But yeah, so sitting behind that, window and what a dream.
It's just fun. I feel like I've always found that's like my favorite part, really, going into those sound studios in London, because people are so professional. They're like, oh, do you want, like, here's some muffins to eat? And then, like, these people come in and they're like, sometimes it's silly and you're trying to record like with a whale's tail, like one of the writers was trying to like make a prawn whistling underwater noise and stuff, like stupid things, and sometimes you're like, is this my job to get paid to just sit here and have fun? And then like with Stella, like because it was a charity piece, the guys that did the music, they I think it was Micasso. I don't want to say this wrong now. I everything merges into my head after a while. But they were just so nice, and the guy that ran the whole company came in and was like, oh, we love this film, Izzy. And I was like, oh my God, thanks. And like all these like really amazing people that have done music and stuff for like such amazing like adverts or TV or whatever, and they come in and take the time to say, oh, we really like what you're doing. It just, it's crazy. It's really fun.
We're taking a little break from our chat with Izzy to have a word from our sponsor, Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp, or in this case, a creative tip from one of its lecturers, Kathy Sisson, who's based at Shillington's New York campus. Originally from Melbourne, Kathy is a designer, art director and calligrapher, also known as Kayashi. I asked Kathy, do you have any tips on portfolios and making sure they're the best possible representation of your work?
Keep it simple. I think sometimes it's easier to sort of put all the work that you've done, even work that you're not really a fan of. I always just like to keep, my top 6 projects that I really love, especially that I want to talk about, whether it's to employers, to clients. It's really important that you curate it, definitely quality over quantity. Make sure it shows a range and it's not sort of one particular project. You really want to show off that you can do a bit of branding, packaging, UX, UI. Definitely don't put in projects where you really don't see yourself venturing into. I think I was really not a fan of annual reports, so I made it a strategic move not to sort of put those kind of projects in and put a lot of branding work, which was where my passion lied. So really curate it and know that your portfolio can evolve. It's not, this is the 6 projects and that's it forever. Know that, maybe in 6 months' time you can update it. Maybe you've built up a few more projects within then, and you can change. So be really adaptable with your folio, but keep it simple. I think that's the key.
To find out more about studying graphic design in as little as 3 months online or at one of Shillington's 6 campuses around the world, visit shillingtoneducation.com. Now, back to Izzy. How do you keep your feet firmly on the ground? Do you have a partner that really kind of gives you a bit of banter like my husband?
My boyfriend's very good at being like, don't get too big-headed. But I feel like I naturally have waves where I don't know, I have this thing, I think it's this passionate thing as well, where I get almost exhausted by being happy. So like, I'll do something like a big talk at an event and all these people will be saying, we love your stuff. And like, I've said this to people a few times, I almost become my own secretary. So people are saying it to me and I'm saying, thank you. And I don't think I'm taking it in that it's about me. I'm just almost like gathering, just like the external part of me, and it doesn't really sink in. And it'll get to the end of the day and I'll be so elated and happy with it. But then the next day I'll normally feel like absolute rubbish because I hit this peak. And I don't know if it's an imposter syndrome thing of being like, the next day being like, but I don't deserve to have all that being said about me. And then I just completely plummet. Like I get tired from being so happy so that like it drops. And this is what I mean about the up and down of being like a passionate person. I think you just get like so happy that like there's a consequence in the end. But I think, there's just always, I don't know, no matter how much people say they like my work, I feel like I'm very aware of my own roof on my ability and that I'm always pushing it a bit higher, and I can appreciate that other people might like it, but I know what I can do better. So I feel like that keeps me on the ground.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good way to talk about that because I think it's a trait that many people who have found success in their careers, it's something they all share. It's that kind of the fear that's biting at your back, you know, that any moment you could get, you know, discovered and found out to be somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing, or might not be as good as you thought they might be. And so, yeah, it's exhausting because you're on this roller coaster where you have these highs where you think, oh my God, I've just released and directed my own film and BAFTA nominated and all the rest of it. And then the next day it's like, whew, whacked out, need to sort of wear pajamas all day and curl up and have lots of mint tea. It's quite normal. But yeah.
Yeah. I think my scary thing, I've been very, very lucky. And like you said, it's like you get these peaks. And I always think every time I have one, I'm like, but what if I don't have another one for a while? Like, how am I going to just be okay just being a normal human? But I keep getting the peaks. And so like, just as I'm fading off one of the peaks after like a few months, there'll be another one. So even like doing something like this podcast, like it's like a peak for me. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing something fun.
Oh, me too.
And I just go up and up, and I'm just waiting for the moment where it crashes. And the flip side of that is like, at the moment, I've got an overwhelming amount of work because I say yes to everything normally. And I've actually said no to a lot this year. But like there's opportunities that come that I'm like, this would be so good. And it could open so many doors in the future if I do it. And I probably have time to do it. So I like, end up doing all these things just because of the possibilities, because I think I'm scared that there won't be those possibilities again. And I don't want to say no and then miss it. So I'm trying to be like, know when to say no, but like I still say yes to far too many things. And also again with like in the same sense of money, like I'm earning a lot of money now, which like I wasn't last year, and I feel like I'm in a student mindset of like, oh my God, do not spend anything. And so like I'm trying to like balance it because I don't want to like go so far being like, yeah, I have loads of money, I can buy loads of things, and then next year I've not got that job that's giving me all that money again. So but then also allow myself not to be a student and be like, oh, I can actually buy that nice thing that I want.
Because you're not even barely 30 and look at everything you've achieved. So it's no wonder. I mean, so young.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is strange sometimes. I feel like I think it's best to be in your own little world, doing your things, and like not like I always say to people, don't ever worry about what age you are and when you start things and do things, because I don't think I'm ever aware of it until someone will say something like you just did. Like when I had a few of my Netflix interviews, my show creator was like, you've done so much for someone so young. And it's only in those moments that I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I have. I don't really stop and think about it very often. And I'm like, maybe I should cut myself some slack. Like I have done quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes I think about, you know, I'll delve into that, you know, and think about some of the things I'm doing and what I've got lined up. And if I start to think about it too much, I just completely freak out. So I think the better way to survive in life when you're sort of doing things that are so exposed, you are better off just not thinking about it and just keeping yourself busy. And I like to make the joke that I'm a bit of a space cadet because I'm just in my own head, in my own world. And, you know, I think that's how I survive. So like the way I can describe it is if I've got to go somewhere in the car, it will only be when I'm in the car that I will look at the map or look at my phone and remind myself where I'm going. And I think that's how I survive. That's how I cope. And it sounds to me like that you're on a similar trajectory there. You're just kind of like, okay, don't think about that too much. Just get your head down and
even to the fact that like everyone jokes that I have like the best memory, but then I'm also very forgetful. So the reason is I just can't store all that in my head all the time. So I write endless lists, like kind of like what you're saying, where, like I can't do stuff until I think about it. And so like the other day, this book project I'm doing on top of my work was so overwhelming. But the moment I literally write down each page I'm doing on what day, so I'll make a calendar for myself and say, on this evening I'm doing this, I immediately calm down, because when it comes to that evening, I just have to check the calendar. It says draw page 16. And I draw page 16 and it's done. But if I have all this stuff floating around, it's too much. But if I compartmentalize it to being like, now I'm doing this, it's a lot easier.
Totally with you on this. Exactly the same. I call it a brain dump. I just get everything down onto a notepad. I do a list at the end of every day, ready for the next day. And then I completely switch off. I completely relax. I can just go downstairs and I can make my dinner and I'm as happy as anything, dancing around the kitchen. Even if there's like looming deadlines and maybe something I'm a bit worried about, if I write it on paper, I'm absolutely fine. It's crazy.
And I find that I write the same lists almost every day. Like at the moment, like
Yeah.
the things that I do extra is like I'm really trying to learn Japanese, but like for the last 2 weeks I have had no time at all to do anything, and I'm very beginner level, so I don't really know anything yet. But then also do workouts. So every list every day says Japanese and workout, and I probably won't do it, but at least I've written it down, because if I don't write it down, I'll worry that I'm not doing it. But if I've written it down, I know that it's there somewhere, and I can remind myself, and if I have time, I'll do it. But yeah, I have to get these silly things down, otherwise I do worry. And my boyfriend knows it, because I'll be like lying in bed at night and suddenly start talking about something random. He's like, can we just sleep, please? So I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be typing stuff on my phone just to like get things down so I can go back to sleep, because otherwise it'll just be circulating.
Well, I leave my notepad upstairs in the attic, and then so if that happens, I do the bedside drawer trick, where I just open the bedside drawer halfway.
Okay.
So when I wake up in the morning, I know to look at it and go, why is that halfway open? Oh, yes, it's because I need to add that to my list. And it's so weird, because I'll be like lying there staring at the ceiling, and then I'll go, bedside drawer. And then I'm like, passed out. It's just very strange.
What happens if you have multiple ideas, though? Do you have to open multiple drawers?
That's a good idea. That's a good point. I'd probably sneak out of the bedroom and go and sleep in the spare bedroom, because I know that it's going to be one of those nights where I can't sleep until 3 or 4 in the morning. So I just leave my husband to it. He'll be sort of happily princess snoring away, and I'll just sneak out and go and get a notepad and just sketch, draw, just get it all out. Because it sometimes, like, it can catch up with you, and we don't give ourselves a moment to just, give ourselves just a moment sometimes. And sometimes those moments force themselves upon me. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go and indulge. I'm going to stay up really late. And actually, I know it sounds weird, but I've always been one of these night owls. I like the wee small hours where it's dark and quiet and no one else is awake. And I like looking out the window sometimes like a weirdo. So if there's anybody doing a sort of midnight walk and there's some sort of weird character stood by her window just staring out, with maybe a steaming cup of tea, that's me. Nothing sinister, but yeah. But you studied animation at Bournemouth. Yeah. However, you almost became a programmer. Yeah. This fascinates me.
I think I had a very tumultuous time at university. I think the first year I almost quit at the end because I think I've always been quite naturally good at stuff. I work very hard. So like it's weird because I'm not like one of those genius kids. So I do work hard to do well, but then I found that when I work hard, I did well and I got good marks. Whereas when I went to university, I was trying very hard and I still wasn't being good. And it freaked me out, like, because before it'd been very, very much, I worked hard, I learned stuff, and then I got good grades, and suddenly that was disrupted. And like to the point that I do one of the assignments and try really hard and get 40, which was a pass. And then the next time I just not give a crap because I was so frustrated, and then get 60, and I'd be like, what is happening? Like if I don't try, I do well. And it just felt like I'd lost like the system of what I was used to. And so I'm one of those people, I don't think it was like giving up. It was more the sense of like, I knew I've had this in my whole life where I know inside me that I'm like, I have the potential to be great at something. Like, I'm not saying that I am great or that I will ever be, but there's a potential that I could build on. So when I went to university and did animation, and the first year I felt like I was rubbish, I was like, shouldn't I be building on something I'm naturally good at to be great? Surely that's the best thing to do, rather than force myself into something I can't do. And then that end of that first year, I actually got okay grades, and I was like, well, maybe I can do this. And so I stayed on, and all my highest marks were in maths and programming, and I was convinced that maybe that's what I had to do. I was always loved maths and always loved art, and hoped that doing animation would combine them, and it never did. And all my lowest marks were in the art stuff, but every opportunity we had to direct, I would direct the stuff. And like, even to the point of like, we had like certain lecturers that were known to be good lecturers. And so if you got assigned them when you were doing your short film projects, you kind of knew that they had like faith in you and they wanted to like be the people to nurture you. And I always had what I classed as the best lecturers on my, like, looking after my team of people. So I felt like there was a little bit of belief that I could do stuff. And I just kept directing, and I drew a lot in my spare time out of uni, but I was definitely never classed as like one of the best artists on the course. And I was convinced that when I left uni, I wasn't going to be good enough to be an artist. And But I did the films and stuff. And when I left uni, I actually won best final year film with my team, and I directed that project. And it was out of the blue because I just remember my final year being surrounded by my classmates that I thought were the really good ones. And they're incredible. And they were doing the projects. And I don't know if everyone else felt this or it's because I didn't believe in myself, but I felt like everyone thought those were the best projects of the year. And I was kind of like an okay one, but not anything special. And then when I won that project, I felt like, oh, I can do this. And I think it's because I did something a bit more fresh and out the box. It wasn't like the typical, like, look at what we can do with our skills. It was more like, actually, this is quite a simple project, but we told a good story. And still
what was it called again? I was watching
called
it this morning.
Block.
That's it, yeah. So the breakfast kind of adventures.
Yeah, and I was just great. Because I loved 1960s infomercials, and I took all the audio from that and spent the whole summer before uni started piecing together like random snippets of audio from infomercials to make a story. It was just good fun, really. And so I still left uni being like, I'm not going to be an artist. I'm going to have to have a different job and spend my time building my portfolio. And then I just got offered a job. So it was just like a magical thing that I didn't think would ever happen. And it did. But I was very almost a programmer just because I think I was so used to being that student that did well at school and that was everything, right? So when you get good grades in something, I think that I was like, well, that's surely what I have to do. And I don't think that's always the case. And I know that now. But yeah.
Yeah, great.
Sorry, that was a very long-winded story.
No, it's really interesting. It'll be great for people to hear that because there's always this expectation that you go to university, you know what you're going to do, and that's going to sort of lead to da-da-da. You know, but we all have different experiences. There's some people who don't go to university and they find a different path, or people like me who went to university and didn't really do any work at all. Lots of stuff going on personally, so didn't really have a really great experience, but still managed to come out and make something of myself and do something interesting. And I've gone off in loads of different tangents and routes, you know, but found my way back to what I like to do. And then there's people like you that have just, you know, gone and worked for other people straight after graduation, done 4 years at different studios, you know, really reputable studios, produced some great work. You've even like illustrated and created some picture books, children's books.
Yeah.
And then you went freelance. And got represented, and now just last summer you started working with Netflix, and you have just recently become their lead artist, Netflix animation. Incredible!
Yeah, it's like a strange thing. Like this time 6 years ago, I was still in my final year at uni, and I just like obviously Netflix wasn't known as an animation studio then, but if you had told me then that I'd be working at like one of the best animation studios as a lead artist, like I would have been a bit like, what? I definitely learned resilience from uni, and I think it's a strange one as well because everything changed when I left uni and I started at Blue Zoo, like which is like now a massive company, but at the time was still quite small. Like I started making these small projects like Via and stuff where I had a lot of control, and I realized very quickly that like this dream of working for a big animation studio wasn't for me, and the fact that very selfishly I wanted control. Like I didn't ever think I could just be an artist, and that the animation industry in America is so massive that like they have a role for everything. Like even I'm still learning, like we're talking to people at the moment, there's like roles like color designer, and then obviously prop and background painter, all separate roles. And I just didn't ever want to be a cog in the wheel. And I know that sounds so bad because I know so many talented artists that are those roles, and there's nothing bad with it. But I just felt like I'm very restless and frustrated, and if I didn't have some kind of say over things, I didn't want to do it. So my plan changed to just being like working in small studios, doing my thing, where in Blue Zoo and in my role as a director, because I can do quite a lot of the roles, the only thing I can't really do is actually animate. So I can do the compositing, I can do the texturing, I can paint everything, I can storyboard, not very well, but I can thumbnail, you know, and like make the stuff. So I'm very much used to doing everything myself. And I was like, maybe that suits me better. So I kind of cancelled that idea of working with a big animation studio. And then when Netflix contacted me and it was for like a lead position, I was just like in my head amazed, because I thought if I ever did work for an American animation studio, it would take me like 20 years to get to the point where I could be that lead role, you know, like, and not just be the cog that I didn't want to just be that. So the fact that I'm working there now, and I obviously can't talk about the project, but they want my style, so I paint in my style, and it's so I feel like it's the first time I've really properly done that, like to be paid to do it, because it just feels so nice to just draw, and what you draw naturally is what they want. And we're in a really unique position where the story and the scripts are happening at the same time as us drawing. So the art team will draw something and then you see it next week written into the script, and then the script people write something and we're like, oh, that's so good. And it's very like organic. And so like you're drawing, but you're influencing story at the same time, because you're building this world that this show exists in. And that is like the dream for me. And that's what I thought was going to take like 20 years or so if I ever wanted to get into the US stuff. So it's a bit bamboozling, but
it's incredible.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Where are they based? Are they based in LA?
Yeah, they're based in LA. So technically I'm supposed to be there, but because of COVID, they said, like, obviously we can't move you over now. So I still might, but I don't really like LA. So I'm trying, like, they know I can work remote, but it's just funny because like even at the moment we're starting to like crew up a bit more, and some of the people on the list, there's a girl on the list that's actually 3.5 years ago when I went to CTN, which is an animation festival in LA, I got an interview at Cartoon Network, and she looked through my portfolio and told me what I would need to ever be a background artist in the LA stuff. And I remember being like, oh, I'm not going to change she gave me such good advice, but I was like, I'm not going to change my portfolio like that at all. Like, I don't have time and I'm very happy doing my thing. And that was one of the reasons I was like, no, I don't want to be a cog in the wheel. And now I'm like the lead position, and like she's coming and talking to me, and I'm like, this is so sweet and nice. Like, it's like this stuff that she gave me all this advice, and then here I am. And like now we're interviewing that person, and even the LA group of animation seems quite small. Like the people we're talking to, like some of my colleagues, like, hey, we worked with you on something else with someone we're talking to, and it seems like this general circulating of people being leads on different projects. So it's not always like someone's always harder than you. It's like a very swap and change depending on the style and feel of the show. So I really like that. I think it's nice. I mean, Netflix is a great studio to work for, so
that was going to be my next question. They sound great, you know, and pushing forward and probably sort of having, at its heart now, hopefully, and we've seen a lot of evidence of it, telling lots of different stories, lots of diversity.
Yeah, the diversity's great, and like they have a thing called Strong Black Lead, which is a Twitter page where I think that's where they release all their diversity stuff. And I don't know, just even the fact that they don't have like broadcasting rules, they can just do so much. Like there's less of the health and safety worries and things like that. There seems to be like you're allowed to push stuff a bit more, and it's very creative. And I just even the format of things, and just seeing, even for myself, like potentially pitching stuff to them in the future, there's a lot more things open that I didn't think would be. So yeah, it's good.
Shame you can't talk about too much more. And to think that we used to just, have this subscription service where they would send us these DVDs in the post.
Yeah.
I'm probably too young for that, but that's how I always remember Netflix. And now they're sort of, well, if I'm allowed to say it, world leaders in streaming content. They're fantastic, and everybody else is having to pull their socks up. I mean, gosh, and I grew up with just 4 channels. I remember when they launched Channel 5.
Yeah.
And then satellite TV came along, and my mum said, we're never getting a satellite.
Yeah.
I don't want a satellite dish on my house, my mother said.
I only ever had like the 4 or 5 channels until I was like 17 or something. But yeah, like we had an internal talk by this the CEO of Netflix recently, and I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to say, but I don't think it really matters. But he was saying like the Netflix model is like being as close to chaos as possible. So he's like letting your artists like be so free that there's no one like telling them what to do really, but like keeping it from going into chaos. So like just having those like the people at the management level knowing when to be like, right, we just need to keep it down a bit, and just so that it's as creative as possible without being like not like marketable or not whatever. So I feel like that's like the perfect thing, right, of just being so creative that people can say, hey, what about this? And you generally get a sense that people want to hear your ideas, and like even chatting with the people and being like, hey, could I pitch something? They're like, yeah, come and chat to this person. And I've had meetings with just the teams where they're like, yeah, just this is what we like from pitches. And they're very open to just talking to you about like how you would go about pitching your ideas and stuff. And I think I've been very lucky to be in studios because obviously Blue Zoo were very good at like letting people pitch their ideas for short films as well. So I feel like, I've jumped around studios where they're very open to hearing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a big believer that the best creativity comes when there's like space to breathe and room to sort of explore. And yeah, that's great to hear. And I suppose, are you going to be sort of making very sort of children based content still, or is there a sort of desire maybe to go into sort of more grown up stuff?
Yeah, so I definitely, like, obviously all the stuff I still get paid to is quite children's orientated, and I think it's because, I mean, you open my website and it's like a rainbow explosion everywhere. Yeah, I'm actually talking with my Paris studio Troublemakers at the moment about a short film that they're helping me create a pitch for, and that's adult content. So it's kind of a horror thriller, but you don't really tell at the beginning that that's what it is. It's supposed to be quite beautiful and poetic and almost what you'd expect from me. And I want it to be like that like halfway through you're like, this is getting a bit sinister, and it kind of drum up to the point that, I guess for me, it's almost like I keep describing it as silence or quiet, like horror thriller. So that I think that's always scared me more, is that like quietness and like worry about, especially in films where they go quiet, you know, something bad's going to happen, and just this feeling of quietness. And also hopefully doing it in black and white, because like I said, everything I'm known for is very colourful and rainbowy, and I almost want to challenge myself to be like, how do I make something successful without that as my backbone of what I do? So I'm trying to push myself out there, because I think a lot of the content I want to make is a bit more grown up. And even when I pitch children's book content at the moment, a lot of publishers are like, no, that's not really like young enough, or it's a bit too epic. And I see the illustrators that I look up to, like Sean Tan, and storytellers. I guess he's more of a storyteller than anything. He's such a well-known name that he's allowed to do those projects that push the boundaries and are definitely more adult than they are children. And I just would love to get to a point one day where I'm trusted as a name like that to do a bit more out there stuff. So, yeah.
Do you think you'll go into the post-apocalyptic genre a little bit as well?
Oh, I hope so. There's one of the children's books that I've come up with isn't post-apocalyptic, but it's like a lot of destruction and everyone's very isolated again. So I think there's definitely a thing about being isolated. Like, again, this short film, this horror one that I want to do is kind of like, again, being like in the middle of nowhere, and that kind of quietness of landscapes and everything reflected in that. So yeah, I guess like not necessarily always post-apocalyptic, but definitely that feeling of being alone and there's not very much around. And yeah. I like those stories.
Oh gosh, yeah. Me too. And what about gaming? Can you see yourself going into that kind of field? That's a huge multi-billion.
I think a lot of the time I get quite a lot of comments on my artwork where people are like, I'd love to see this as a game, and that's always really nice to hear, I guess. And when I was back at Blue Zoo, actually, they were like, oh, maybe we should make a game. So I'd started developing like an idea for one. And I don't really think it's an idea I would follow now that necessarily. But I think if I ever did, it would be very story driven, obviously. My boyfriend actually works in games, so he's always doing stuff. And I think right now he's in the other room playing around on Unreal Engine and trying to learn a few extra bits. So he's in that area. So maybe one day. He wants to do more short films, and I want to do more so I'm hoping that we can collaborate a bit in the future and make that stuff like that. But yeah.
Do you play yourself, or is it not something you're bothered about?
I find it so hard to get into games. Like we both have our Nintendo Switches behind me somewhere. But I keep buying games and I get very stressed by them. So I've bought The Witcher and I love playing it, but I get too stressed and too invested. I think, again, it's this passion thing where I become part of the world and I get really stressed. So then I got Animal Crossing, and then I find it hard. I was really into it for a while, and then I found it hard to carry on. I bought Firewatch, and then again would play it before bed and got too stressed by the story because someone would punch me out of nowhere, and I'd be like, there's like a scary person following me.
It's terrifying sometimes.
Yeah, and we just bought Overcooked the other day, and we've been playing it, and but then I get really stressed, and I think I'm a team player,
same.
and I'm not. Like, I set the rules. I'm like, you stay over there in your thing, and then my boyfriend Matt's like, hang on, you've just moved over into my section. Get into your section, and so yeah, I just get too invested.
It's so funny. So I think you can tell a lot about a couple when you watch them both play Overcooked. Yeah. So Tom's the one who's like really kind of like, right, okay, there's the menu. That's what we need to cook. Right, okay, you do this, I'll do that, you sort this. And then meanwhile, whilst he's like getting on with it and doing really well, I'm sort of like spinning around in a circle, like dropping things, and like, just sort of panicking and not really knowing what's going on. So it's absolutely hilarious. He gets really frustrated with me. He's like, for God's sake. And he could pretty much play those games by himself. You know, those lovely, those kind of, what are they called? They're kind of like collaborative games. You work together games, for the co-op. They're so good. I just love them.
I'm exactly the same as you. I just panic. So Matt, after like, if we fail a level, he's like, you need to stop panicking. And normally at this point we swap the controller and he plays my role and then he does it perfectly and seamlessly. And I'm just over there chopping things just on my own because I can't handle anything else.
It's brilliant. I love it. I was going to ask you, have you ever played The Last of Us?
No, I haven't. No, but I've heard all about it.
God, it's so good. It's so good. Amazing characters, wonderful story. And apps, my God, you'd be stressed. You'll be very, very stressed. I played the second one and I can't give too much away, but my husband came in and I was playing the end of it. And I kept having to drop the controller onto my lap because I was just sobbing with all of my heart and soul, because it is just such an amazing story and you fall in love with these characters. Yeah. Anyway, I'm very passionate about
I think I
end
just
of the world stuff.
I raised my heart rate too much and I have to so I keep trying to buy games, but then I'll buy something like I bought Stardew Valley the other day because people say it's good, and then I do it and it's just a bit too boring for me. So then I'm like, what's the middle ground? And so like the game that I've actually been playing a lot is Diablo 3. And that is like the last game in the world that I would think that I would like. But it's because like I don't die very easily as a character because I'm like this super chunky, like heavyweight person. I have axes and I just go around killing stuff. And I'm like, why? That is so worrying that the one game that I can play. And I think it's literally because I'm like, my character is like so beefed up that it's really hard for me to die. So I don't get stressed. But then I'm like, there's no challenge. I just go around killing stuff. So yeah, it's strange. The games I like are not at all the games that I would think I would like, really. But yeah.
Yeah, they can become very immersive and take over your life. So yeah, it's good to sort of put them down sometimes and just do something else. Yeah. So with so much that you've already achieved, Izzy, I mean, gosh, what is next for you?
I don't know. I feel like it always evolves. Like, I did a whole talk about this last year about like being open for your dreams to evolve, because like I said, I used to want to work for a big animation studio, then I didn't for a while, and now I do again. And I always wanted to write children's books. And so I'm kind of doing that at the moment. But I'm very aware all of a sudden after working in the publishing industry that I don't think it's necessarily for me, unless, again, I have more control, because I find some bits irritating about it. So it's like constantly evolving. And I think my aim, like at the moment, I want to make more short films, and I think with an aim to like direct longer stuff, so either a TV series or a feature. I also write a lot, so I wrote and I started writing a novel years ago, and I wrote 120,000 words before I decided it wasn't my story to tell. But then the other day I realized that this story would fit very well into a kind of TV series where like you got the different people's points of view. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll write a script, but that would be live action, right? So there's just so many things I want to try. Like, I feel like for now it's sticking with directing and animation as much as possible and drawing and animation, but with the idea that when I get like bored or like just want to change, that maybe I can try to go into live action. I would love to give it a go, but I know it's a very different skill set. So yeah, just anything really. I want to write the stories that I'm writing. And I think I used to get annoyed with myself that it felt like it was all over the place, but I've recently realized that, like you said earlier, everything is storytelling. That's the underlying thing. So I kind of just let myself go now and be like, as long as I'm telling a story, it doesn't matter what way it is, whether it's drawing or writing or directing animation or directing live action. And even this short film that I'm working on at the moment, I also see it as live action, and I'd love to make the animation version and then in the future film it with real actors and have the side-by-side comparison of the two different ways of doing it. So yeah, there's so many things. I don't know, just a confusion, but with some kind of direction. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see what you're going to do next and hear what's happening at Netflix, Izzy. So thank you so much for chatting with us. And Yeah, can't wait to see your journey evolve, as they say.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. It's been great. I feel like I just wanted to chat to you as well, because it's one of those Twitter relationships that you learn people's personalities for like listening to you on this podcast as well. And then you're like, I kind of know this person, but I don't know this person. So it's been very nice.
That's interesting. You see, that's going to freak me out a little bit now, because I'm going to have to go downstairs and have a cup of tea and go, oh, I don't want to think about that too much, because the only way I can cope with doing this podcast is pretending that it's not actually happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I do reveal a lot about myself on it, and I do worry. Like last week, this week actually, as we're talking, Ashwin Chacko, I talk for far too long about Baby Yoda, and it's just I just really, in fact, I talk about it too much that I say sorry at the end. Aww. Anyway.
No, that's great. I like it.
Well, have an amazing time. And are you going to stay in Brighton? Are you moving to somewhere else?
There's plans. Like, I'd love to end up in New Zealand or somewhere. My boyfriend's Australian, so it's all up in the air at the moment. But kind of would like to escape the UK at least at some point in the future. Yeah.
Let's go somewhere a bit warmer and yes, not so densely populated. That would be nice.
Definitely.
Living the dream. All right, well, take care. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
You've been listening to the Creative Boom podcast with your host, Katie Cowan. Thanks to our sponsor, Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp that's helped students achieve award-winning portfolios and land incredible jobs in as little as 3 months. To find out more, go to shillingtoneducation.com. To listen or subscribe to the Creative Boom podcast, visit creativeboom.com/podcast. Don't forget to leave us a review if you're enjoying the show. Join me next time when my guest will be the award-winning artist and designer, Shyam Murugaya.